Welcome, everyone. Welcome. This is your host, Pop Culture Mechanic, and I am starting up Trades Talk Tuesday. Why? Because I love alliteration. Why not? And hello, Blaine. Time to trade some Pokemon cards? Maybe. I don't have Pokemon cards. I have Yu-Gi-Oh! But I'm just kind of playing fast and loose with what I'm going to do with this stream. Wrong trades, exactly. Let's see if starting out with a little bit of, where is it now? There we go. Maybe start with a little bit of news. See what if anything interesting comes up. I see here Amazon is to invest $972 million for electric vans and trucks in Europe. That's all fine and dandy, but if they don't have the infrastructure to charge them, they're just going to be sitting there and they're not going to be any kind of use to anybody. So as long as Europe has that infrastructure, or if Amazon is going to help with the infrastructure, I think just read up about it a little bit. Amazon said Monday it will invest 1 billion euros to add thousands of more electric vans, long-haul trucks, cargo bikes to its delivery network in Europe. The investment would grow the number of electric delivery vans the company has in Europe from roughly 3,000 to 10,000 by 2025, Seattle-based retail giant said in an announcement on its website. The Amazon electric vehicles turn into paperweights at random, not even out of juice. There you go. Here we go. That's what it sounds like to me. With the investment, Amazon is also hoping to purchase more than 1,500 electric trucks, up from 5 in the United Kingdom. To accommodate those vehicles, the company said it will build hundreds of fast chargers across its European facilities that can charge vehicles in roughly 2 hours. Okay, so it's going to help with the infrastructure then. Our transportation network is one of the most challenging areas of our business. To decarbonize and achieve net zero carbon will require substantial and sustained investment. Andy Jassy, Amazon CEO, said in a statement referring to the company's pledge to be net carbon by 2040. Despite the pledge, the company said its carbon emissions grew by 18% last year, driven by the surge in online shopping during the pandemic. Amazon has launched 25 micro-mobility hubs, or more centrally located delivery stations in dense European cities that allow the company to try out different delivery methods, such as bike or foot deliveries. On Monday, it said it expects to double those hubs by 2025, which will allow the company to take more delivery vans off the road. The retailer has already ordered 100,000 electric vans from Rivian Automotive, which issued a recall last week for almost all its vehicles in order to tighten a loose fastener. Oh yeah, that's good quality control. In a recent securities filing, Rivian said it planned to deliver the vehicles to Amazon by 2025. Amazon said it plans to roll out those vehicles to more than 100 cities by 2030. Okay, there you go. Amazon. I think it's a lot easier to do stuff like that in Europe because Europe is such densely populated and everything's so close together. You can get away with doing things like that, whereas in America and Canada, everything is so far apart and the land is so outstretched that you need gas-powered vehicles. That's all there is to it. Global shares fall on tech sector losses, recession fears. Yeah. You'd have to be a moron not to know that there's a recession with all the high inflation and everything. Things are not going well for people. High strength plates and profiles named among Canada's top growing companies. Government of Canada invests in clean tech company. Tura Power selects Cummins to manufacture electrolyzer systems for Niagara Hydrogen Center. Okay. Electrovaya to establish the first U.S. facility. Ontario invests in Thunder Bay manufacturing sector. German Technology Day 2022 returns this fall. Ballard announces global manufacturing story. Ballard are those guys that made the hydrogen fuel cells. Gatik and Loblaw launched first driverless deployment in Canada. ATS secures millions in EV order. Auto Canada acquires North Toronto Auction. Manufacturing conditions continue to decline. Report, yes. GM spending $760 million to convert Toledo factory to make EV parts. Apple will manufacture the iPhone 14 in India. I wonder if that's as well as China. De Havilland, Canada, build airline manufacturing plant east of Calgary. Oh, that's good news. Ontario invest in skills development. That's always good. Okay, so a couple of stories that caught my eye there. So I was thinking about what to do for this stream as the trades, and I guess the most basic thing is, if you're not familiar with them or wondering, like, how do you get into them and what kind of trades are there? So starting out, there is actually quite a few. You can be an agricultural equipment technician, so you take care of farm equipment. You can be an appliance service technician, so taking care of like dishwashers, dryers, washing machines. Auto body technicians. There's always a need for auto body technicians. People always get into accidents. They always need their cars repaired. You could be a prepper, a refinisher, or a repairer. There's automotive service technician. So that's you're repairing cars. A baker, a barber, a boiler maker. So boiler makers are pressure vessels that they use when they're heating up steam and such. So a bricklayer, cabinet maker, carpenter. People always need carpenters. Wood, framing, houses, all sorts of stuff. Carpenters are in demand. Cathodic protection, level 1 and 2. So I think that has to do with pipeline integrity. And they check and make sure that it's not degrading as the pipe sits in the ground. A communication technician. A concrete finisher. A construction craft worker. A cook. Crane and hoisting equipment operator for a boom truck, or crane and hoisting operator for mobile crane. And a tower crane operator. And crane and hoisting equipment operator for a wellhead boom truck. So all of these you'll be having to get a ticket for. Electric motor systems technician. The all too familiar electrician. You want to work with electricity? There you go. You can be an electrician. Elevator constructor. So that's its own thing, be having to work on elevators. Field heat treatment technician. Heat treating is very important. You have to know what you're doing, otherwise you might make your metal either too brittle or not hard enough. Floor covering installer, okay. Gas utility operator, a gas fitter, class A and B. So that has to do with all your natural gas fittings and such. Glazer, you have to deal with glass. Hairstylist, yes, a hairstylist is you are required to have a ticket for that. It says here it's compulsory. A worker in this trade must be registered apprentice or a certified journey person. Heavy equipment technician. And there's a few levels of that. There's heavy duty equipment off-road, heavy duty transport trailer mechanic, and truck and transport mechanic. So you'd work on big moving equipment. So excavators, loaders, and highway trucks, trailers. Industrial mechanic. That's my trade right there. Instrumentation and control technician. That's dealing with all sorts of little controls and such, and pressure indicators and pressure regulators and such. Insulator, heat and frost. Iron worker. Ironworker metal building systems director. Ironworker reinforcing. Ironworker structural. A landscape horticulturalist. A lather. Or an interior systems mechanic. I'm not familiar with that one. A locksmith. Yeah, that makes sense. Machinist. Yeah. You go through a four-year apprenticeship to be a journeyman machinist. So then you operate lathes and milling machines and drill presses and shapers and all that other kind of good stuff for making parts. But the thing to get into would be CNC machine programming. If you can get into machine programming, that is a better opportunity, because all you have to do is set up the machine and hit go, and whatever part it needs to do, it'll just go ahead and make it. Those CNC machines are quite amazing. As long as you get a good programmer and you program for it, that's where the money is. Metal fabricator or fitter. Motorcycle mechanic. A natural gas compression technician. Outdoor power equipment technician. So a little power equipment like small engine repair and such. Overhead door technician. Now, they don't have any dots on there for red seal or compulsory, so I guess you don't really need one. Painter and decorator, parts technician. Plumber. Power system electrician, power line technician. Recreation vehicle service technician, so working on RVs gets its own classification. Refrigeration and air conditioning mechanic. Very important. Summer, winter, making sure your refrigeration is in proper working order. Roofer. Somebody that's just doing shingles and such on roofs and repairs. Yeah, it's like a car mechanic and home mechanic in one. It's got everything in there. Sheet metal worker. You'll be working with punches and presses and bending and forming sheet metal. Sprinkler system installer, steam fitter, pipe fitter. Transport refrigeration technician. A water well driller. Welder, yeah, welder's pretty commonly well-known one. And that's about it. So from A to W, we're in the full gambit of many, many trades that might be interesting for people to look into. You can go across many fields. And what else? What am I going to look into? There was going to be how you get started in it. So you can actually get started when you're in high school. Hey, Punk Waddle, thanks for stopping by. Trades are important, I think so. So when you're out there and you're wondering, even if you can start in high school and you can start to learn, do your learning, your book learning in there, and then you can, when you're out, you can get in the summertime, you can get experience with an employer that will take you on as an apprentice, and that usually lasts for the average is 4 years. A 4-year apprenticeship is pretty standard. There's some that are 3 and there's some that are 5, but average is about 4, and that's 8 weeks a year that you spend going to school to do all your what do we refer to that as? It's all your books, when you read your books and all that. And then the rest of the time, you should be building up hours because you do need a certain number of hours. And to do that, you're just going to have to work in your trade under a journeyman and just keep track of your hours. So, you work an 8-hour day, that's 8 hours you add to your accumulation. And I believe they want you to have, it's 2,000 hours a year. So there is only like 2,100 hours or something in a year. So easily done as long as you keep working in your trade. There was qualifications that I was looking at, what you would need. I thought I saw it before here. So as you go through, and every time you have to go to school, your employer has to let you. And what they'll do is they will lay you off, and you will have to apply for employment insurance, and you will have to you're relying on the government to help you out as you're going to school, with a promise that your employer will take you back at when you're done your schooling. So you do your schooling, and once that's done and you pass the exam, then you go back to your employer and say, "Hey, I passed," and you automatically get a raise in pay. Because as you start out as an apprentice, you will only start out at about 60% of a journeyman rate. So depending on what your trade is and what your journeyman is being paid, you'll be paid 60% of that. But then as the years go by, when you're first year, you're 60%, and then second year 70, and then third year 80, and fourth year is 90. And then after fourth year, you're up to 100% of whatever the rate is. So there is a reward for it. And then some governments, like the place I'm in, we're in Alberta, after your second year, you can apply for it's not a bursary, and it's not a scholarship, but it's like a reward. You get like $2,000 for completing your second year. And then in your fourth year, they'll give you another $2,000 for completing your apprenticeship. So it's a little bit of an incentive. And what guys will do is usually spend that on tools and such, because, I guess depending on what trade you're in, but tools are expensive, so any little bit helps. I was just seeing, what do we got here? I was going to see what you need to start as far as what your eligibility is. And I think you only need, at the minimum, is like a GED or grade 10 to start to go to a trade school. Yeah, okay. To begin your apprenticeship, you must meet the minimum equivalence high school requirements for your apprenticeship program, or hold an existing trade certificate, or pass an entrance exam for your apprenticeship program. You can still register as an apprentice in your trade if you do not meet the requirements, but you'll be expected to meet them during your first year. And then, yes, you have to have a employer who's willing to hire you as an apprentice. And after that, they will help you and register you as an apprentice. And then you're on your way. They will send you a book that you keep with you, and you track the things that you do, because they are quite stringent. And you explain to them, yes, I've done these parts of the program. You know, I've disassembled a gearbox. I have learned how to sharpen drill bits. I have, done some hydraulics training. And I've rebuilt an air compressor, or helped rebuild. As you're an apprentice, they don't throw you into they shouldn't throw you into the big jobs by yourself. You always need that journeyman guiding you along your way, which is what we all hope for out there. Being a journeyman myself, I've had the privilege of having some excellent apprentices to teach, and I'm quite proud of them. They've done very well. So it's good that it's nice to see that you've been able to pass along your knowledge to someone, and they've taken it to heart and have learned, and trust you in your judgment. So yes, but when I was an apprentice, I had some pretty good journeymen. So I would, it's better to just shut up and listen to what they're telling you, and then the job should go much smoother. But sometimes they leave you on your own, and you make a mistake, and that's what being an apprentice is all about. You make mistakes. As long as you learn from them, it's okay. Everyone makes them. It's gonna happen. There's those times when you're, you figure, I'm gonna drill and tap a hole for a 1/4 inch bolt. Okay, no problem. Oh well, I don't want to hand tap it. I don't want to use by hand. I'm gonna use a drill, an electric drill with this tap, and I'm gonna it'll make it way faster and get it done really quick. That sounds like a good idea, until you put it in there and you start the drill up and it snaps the tap off in the hole. Now you've got a bigger problem. Now you've got to try to dig that hardened steel tap out of that hole that you've just started some threads in. So yeah, it's a little bit... you got to sometimes rein it in a bit. Slow down, rein it in, and maybe not be in such a rush to get the job done. Because then you're trying to dig that thing out with a hammer and chisel, and it makes a big mess, and people wonder what you're doing. And you're there, and you got your head down, and you're like, I'm such a dummy. I did this. So that's the thing about that. So yes, once you figure out what trade to be in, and there is many, as we saw, there is a very varied group. It's all over the spectrum. Then you pick it and you go with it. And for some people, it takes a while, and some people, they're right on the ball. Myself, I started right out of high school. There was a pre-apprenticeship course to take in college, and I'm like, okay, I'll take that, because it gives you an exposure to everything in the trade, and you work on machinery, and you do a lot of bookwork, and you learn about it. And it was, I think it was a big help, rather than just jumping into a job and maybe not getting trained as well. Getting that little boost of being in a college situation where, it's very controlled and you get exposure to a lot of different things. Whereas if you start a job, you may not get exposed to certain things like working on the lathe or working on a milling machine or pumps. Maybe some people don't get exposed to that depending on the job they're at. Welding machines. I've had to rebuild many of those in my time, but it was never anything that I was taught in my pre-apprenticeship class. So there's things that people get exposed to. Some people work on hydraulics and some people never touch them. Some people work on compressors and other people never touch them. So you can actually, depending on where you are in your trade, or in mine that I'm in, is you can specialize. You can pick a niche and be like, I want to do non-destructive testing. Okay, I'm going to specialize in that, and that'll be my thing. And then you learn about all the different types, ultrasonic and mag particle and stuff and such like that. Other people will specialize in hydraulics. Okay, I'm going to be a hydraulic expert. You bring me any kind of hydraulics problem, I'll figure it out for you. Or, some people will be compressor specialists and they'll do nothing but deal with air compressors all the time, screw compressors, reciprocating compressors. They'll do all sorts of stuff like that, but they'll never touch other stuff. As for myself, I would say I didn't specialize particularly, but the things I was exposed to was a lot of centrifugal pumps and progressive cavity pumps and reciprocating positive displacement pumps. And I've dealt with hydraulics and compressors and gearboxes, and I've also gotten trained in operating a portable crane, skid steer, which is like a mini loader. I've got the big loader, I've driven a John Deere 644K. It's quite a large machine, and just stuff like that. And learning all those things makes you more valuable to where your company will be like, that guy has he's trained up a lot. It would be a shame to lose that fella. Make yourself learn as much as you can. Make yourself very valuable to the company. And you'll certainly be able to keep a job for as long as you want it. So that's sort of me going off on a tangent a bit, but just trying to give some good advice. Let's see here. So there are what is it here? Trade profiles. Yes, we looked at that. And I believe if you click on one, or if anybody has a suggestion as to which one to look at, you could always do that. So what they'll do is it'll describe to you. I picked industrial mechanic because that's what I do, and I can attest to the facts that they bring up. Install, maintain, repair, and troubleshoot stationary industrial machinery and mechanical equipment in sites such as factories, production plants, and recreational facilities. Typical job: read diagrams and schematics drawings and service manuals to determine work. Yes. So we get taught how to read blueprints and how to draw them. So that's a bit of a skill in itself. But reading them comes in very handy. Some people look at them and go, I can't do this. And you just got to break it down, take it slow, and figure out what things are. You learn what the symbols are and everything. You can trace them out usually. It says also operating rigging equipment and dollies to place heavy machinery. Yes. So you're either the one operating the crane or you're the one on the ground. You're the one hooking up the machine, using shackles and slings and trying to figure out how heavy this piece is that you're lifting and using the right size of rigging. Because if you don't do that, accidents are going to happen. Things will break. The machine will fall over. $1 million down the drain. You've just wrecked this thing because you didn't take into account where the center of gravity is of it. and things like that. A lot of things that need to be taken into account. Fit bearings, align gears, shafts, attach motors, and connect couplings and belts. Yep, all that stuff. I've changed. I can't even count how many bearings I've changed on things. They don't always slide off easy. Sometimes they're tough. You either got to get out a zip cut grinder with a small blade and just cut it without damaging the shaft, or you got to get a torch, heat it up, and try to pull it off there. A hammer and a chisel. Are you gonna hammer the thing off without damaging the shaft? That's the thing. You can get the bearing off, but can you do it without damaging the shaft? That's the important thing. Aligning gears and shafts, yes. I mean, you have to have good alignment, otherwise you'll either wear out the whatever's driving it, whether it's a chain or a belt. Those will wear prematurely, which will lead to failure, and you're back there again changing this thing out instead of doing something else. So it's in your best interest, if you're doing stuff like that, do it the best as you can. A bearing that comes out easily wasn't installed correctly. Oh, don't you know it? Yeah, and there's different styles too. Like there's ones that fit on the shaft, or there's ones that fit in the housing, right? And you have to make sure those fit proper, because usually what happens is either the housing or the bearing wears, and then the bearing just falls right off. So, attach motors and connect couplings. Yes, I mean coupling alignment. That's very important. You're using a motor, almost always using a motor to drive something, whether it's a pump, whatever it happens to be. So the couplings, they'll give a little bit of leeway, but you usually have to throw on a dial gauge, whether it's a laser aligner or something like that, and get those couplings lined up. Rotor bearings on a car were the worst. Oh man, I can imagine. I really can. I mean, just some of the ones I've dealt with, like, I'm trying to think. There's times when we check if it's like, do we have a spare shaft? Yes, we have a spare. Okay, we're cutting this thing off because we'd spend hours trying to get it off and it's not coming. So you end up just getting pissed off and you're like, you know what? We're cutting this thing. We got a spare. We're just cutting it. So you cut it off and you yank the thing out, put the new one in. It's like, there, finally got her done. Because, it's downtime, and to the company, that's money, right? My job is to keep the downtime to a minimum. If I'm doing that, I'm a successful tradesman. If your stuff's going down all the time, there's something wrong. You're not taking care of it good enough. You got to either look into doing more PMs, like preventative maintenance, or look at something different. It's always about keeping downtime to a minimum. It says align and test equipment and make necessary adjustments. Yes. Perform predictive and operational procedures. Predictive. A lot of the places, the oil patch, the places up north where time is money, like to the extreme, they will do predictive, which is like, okay, we change this thing at 2,000 hours. It doesn't matter if it's failed or not. So let's say that hydraulic cylinder, that thing operates for 2,000 hours. At 1999.9, as soon as it flips over, stop the machine, take it off, put a new one on. A quarter of your vehicle weight constantly on it. At however many RPM plus heat cycles, wish the shaft wasn't so much more. Yeah, exactly. And heat's the big killer too. Bearings hate heat. And a lot of people, what they'll do is, I don't know if this applies to the rotor bearing, but a lot of people will grease them because they're like, oh, well, we'll put grease in there. Well, we'll put more in. Well, what they don't know is grease acts like a good insulator. and it keeps the heat in. So you're not doing yourself a favor by over greasing a bearing. You're going to kill the thing. So if you are going to grease them, 1 squirt and then leave it. Don't pack it in because it'll wreck it. Believe it or not. What else? Repair or replace defective parts? Yes, we do that a lot. Service and repair hydraulic and pneumatic systems? Yes. Yeah, Blaine, it just cooks it. It's amazing. You know? Oh, I wish I would have taken pictures because there was one bearing, it wore out the outer race and the inner race sat on the housing and it just wore a groove into the housing. So the shaft was still turning on the machine it was on and it was just sitting on the housing and it was just grinding away there. And it's like, whoa, that's crazy. But yeah, having the outside race just get obliterated was just amazing. And then now the thing's smoking hot. It's probably welded itself to the shaft. So then you're going to have a tougher time getting it off there. Hydraulic and pneumatic system servicing. Yeah, we're going to do that. From major stuff like, and it's not just the air compressor because it's down the line too. You've got to deal with other stuff like pressure regulators and lubricators, and because you need your air to be lubricated as it moves through the system for whatever it's actuating or whatever it's moving. Like there's air operated valves and such, so you want those to get a little bit of air to air oil through there to keep it from seizing up. Hydraulic systems, the same thing. You have to change out hydraulic filters, and those things are. It's important you keep hydraulic systems clean. Any speck of dirt will clog a hydraulic orifice because they are so small and they're such high pressure. And if you get just a speck of dirt in there, you've got your system is just not going to work. And you're going to be scratching your head. What's going on with this thing? I don't know what's going on. It's not working. And you've got to do what you can to figure it out. So those are very finicky hydraulic systems. I do some tack welding. Yes. So I've done my fair share. I've used stick welding. I've used wire feed. I haven't done any TIG welding, but that doesn't look too bad. And gas cutting with a torch. I mean, that's pretty standard stuff. They should be able to teach you, and they will every year you go back. I think you do at least 2 weeks in the welding shop. So that's what they'll do there. So there's trade information. What's this up here? Trade profile. Oh, average. Okay, so it says here that your average salary is about $83,000. That's Canadian, so take it for what you will. Average wage, $42 an hour. I believe this is in Alberta, so it might be a little lower. In fact, I know it's a little lower in other places. Are they in demand? I guess that's the major thing you look at too. You want to be in a trade that is in demand, because then people will come looking for you. Like, it's amazing. I believe I knew a fella that they call it being headhunted, and he was a place tracked him down and was like, "Hey, you want to come work for us? We'll pay you this much," and and he's like, "Sure, I'll be right over." And he left where we were at, and he started a job at a new place. And good for him. It says lower, in demand lower, 9,000 employed. Outlook below average, 117 new positions. Huh. Well, that's just for industrial mechanic. There's got to be other ones that are something else that would be in demand. Can you guys think of anything that's in demand? Carpenter, maybe that. Where are we here? Carpenter. Oh, here you go. In demand, high. 15,200 employed. Oh, it's seasonal though, I guess. Yeah, they probably wouldn't work a lot in wintertime. Pretty darn cold to be up on a roof or something. I think crane, mobile crane is only 3 years. Term of apprenticeship mobile crane operators, 3 years, 3 12-month periods, including a minimum of 1,620 hours while on the job training and 6 weeks of classroom instruction, subject to training institute in the first year. Minimum of 1,800 hours in job training in the second year, and 1,620 hours in on-job training and 6-week classroom instruction for the third year. Okay. I know crane operators. I think crane operators make crazy good money. The only thing is you are out of town all the time. Oh, well, it says here the average salary is $69,000, so maybe not as bad, or maybe not as good as I thought. And medium in demand, eh? Okay. Breeds in Alberta. Yeah, I was hoping to find that. There was a thing here about what you needed to get into it. Like I say, it is not a lot at all. Grade 10 education. You have to know your math. You have to know, your basic blueprint reading and such. And yeah, you can become an apprentice. And I always will push for people that don't know what they want to do to at least try and look at the trades. You look at the trades, you see that, oh, okay, there's more than just the mechanical things to do. You do all sorts of things, and especially if you don't know what you want to be. This one fella I knew, he was complaining, oh, I'm stuck working as a lab technician. And I'm like, well, why don't you go into the trades? I'm sure the company will let you move from where you're at now into the maintenance department. And he's like, oh, I don't have any mechanical ability. Yeah, but you can learn. You can learn how to do that. It's not that hard, but it's just you can't motivate somebody if they're not really prepared to move, I guess. And it just it kind of disheartens me. It's like, please at least try. Don't quit without even having an attempted, because then you're just defeating yourself, and that's the worst thing. People that defeat themselves, I think that's their biggest enemy is yourself. So you should at least try. That's what I think, anyway. Yeah, I wish I found that. But once you are in your trade, and once you're learning and up and going, things go by quick. Before you know it, you're into school. People who say they have mechanical ability is like people who say they can't cook. Yeah. Oh, I can't cook. Meanwhile, it's like a 9-course meal and, Michelin-starred restaurant. Yeah, it's that, and it sometimes just gets maddening when you come up against people like that. It's like, no, just come on, just try. But once you're rolling along with your apprenticeship and such, things go good. You go to school, you do your learning, you get your classroom instruction, you meet people there, you network, which is important because there's people there from other companies. You see what they do. Yeah, just put bread in a pan. Got to start somewhere, right? Grab some flour, some water, some yeast. Start mixing it up. Maybe it doesn't look the best, but you can still eat it. And then not everyone is an instant. You're not an instant, 4-star chef, right? Even Gordon Ramsay probably had to start out making bread, and he was probably told that it wasn't good or whatever, and he just had to keep doing it over and over and over again. It's called the 10,000. I don't know if anybody's heard about this, the 10,000 hour rule. If you do something for 10,000 hours, then you can be considered proficient at it. So it's just the same. It makes sense with apprenticeship and all that. They make you do 2,000 hours a year for 4 years. That's 8,000 hours. And then, you can be a proficient at it when you get to be a journeyman. So yeah, that's my 2 cents about it. And they always say, talk about what you know. And I like to think I know about this stuff. So I spread the word far and wide that, try the trades. Don't be, because in my generation, having graduated in 1991, a lot of people went into computers and they were enticed by it. And only a few of us went into the trades. So I was one of them. And when I saw that a lot of computer programmers and all that it was like a dime a dozen, I was very thankful. I was to think to myself, I'm sure glad I didn't go into that area because it wouldn't be very, very good for me trying to earn a living when you're just a dime a dozen. It's the Maxwell rule or something. Yeah. I didn't know they had a name for it, but it was. Yeah. So there you go. And I like the wide variety of trades there are. When you can go and just look at all the trades and be like, wow, there's so much to choose from. And then this is also something I tell people is they can't take it away from you. you learn a trade, that's yours forever. They're not gonna, they can't take the knowledge away from you. You've got that. You know, you're a journeyman. That's right. You're a journeyman. Whoever wrote the book about the Beatles spending 10,000 hours in backroom bar. Yeah, eh? 10,000 hours in backroom bars. Yeah, those crazy guys. But yes, there's people that some people need a direction to go, and I always push them, go into the trades. There's going to be a demand. I'm sure there's going to be like a big gap where there's the older people are retiring, the older tradespeople are retiring, and there isn't any new ones to take up the jobs from them. So what they're doing now is they're keeping the older tradespeople in employment after their retirement age, because there is nobody there to fill the gap, to like take their place. Like after me, where I am right now, there is nobody. They're going to have to try to find somebody in like 15 years. They're going to have to find somebody to take over for me. So there's that too. You should be able to find a job relatively easy. There should be an opening. And companies have to smarten up too. They got to realize you need to get some apprentices in here. You can't just try to hire guys off the street and think it's going to be all good. If you have an apprentice, you can train them the way you like. You can get them accustomed to your facility, and you can get them so that they understand the procedures and rules that you have in place. So hiring an apprentice is a darn good idea. And I think they should all fall into line with that. Because you're not always going to find a journeyman that's going to come right in there. But I think I have said all I need to say about the trades today. I will try to make this a regular occurrence on Tuesdays. See, we get more people out here. See if we can get some more tradespeople on. They can talk about what they do and what they do, what their company does, and what their experience has been getting into the trades and being an apprentice and getting a journeyman ticket, or if they haven't gotten it yet, if they're still an apprentice. I would really like to talk to some of those people, or even anybody that's just slightly interested in being knowing what the trades are or getting into it. There is a lot of help out there, and you can do it. But yeah. So if there's any questions out there, anything anybody wants to know, I am open to questions. Yeah, I wish I could have found that. It's had a nice graphic for what is needed. I'll find it and I'll have it next time. So this was a good start, I think, just to get things rolling, see what's out there. Hopefully everybody enjoyed themselves. I know I did. I like talking about the trades, spreading the word about being in the trades. I think it's important. I think everyone needs to try to do a little more hands-on type of learn the hands-on skills. Hand skills are very important, especially in the trades. I'm a big proponent of any kind of maintaining your hand skills. And what that means is if somebody says I should use a grinder to do something or something like that, I'll be like, well, maybe I'll just use a hammer and chisel, or maybe I'll just use a file or a hacksaw, because that's all falls into the grouping of hand skills. You got to keep your hand skills up, because sometimes you'll be somewhere where there is no power, where there is no grinder available, where there's nothing. All you have is a hammer and a chisel or a file or whatever it may be, and you've got to use your bare hands. So that's one of the most important things. The sign of a good tradesman is a fellow that can use his hands without resorting to power tools right off the bat. So that's going to be it for me. I will be around on Saturday for more Shantae for the Game Boy Color. And then on Sunday will be Sunday Anime Chat. I haven't decided what anime to talk about yet, but I have some on my list to watch. And then once again, Trades Talk Tuesday, because we love alliteration. So until then, my friends, this is Pop Culture Mechanic, signing off.